Oregon State Senator David Brock Smith faces an uphill battle in his bid to unseat longtime U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley. First, he has to win the Republican nomination by defeating 6 other Republicans in the primary, including perennial Republican candidate Jo Ray Perkins. A third-generation Oregonian, Senator Brock Smith is from Port Orford on the southern Oregon coast. He's a businessman, the former leader of the Port Orford Chamber of Commerce, served for 6 years in the Oregon House, and was appointed to the Oregon Senate in 2023. Senator Brock Smith, welcome to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Oregon hasn't elected a Republican to the U.S. Senate since the 1990s. That was Gordon Smith. So what makes you believe you can change that?
Well, Ken, I've been working in public service for nearly half my life. I'll be 50 in December of this year, and it's always been about helping my community. If it was the Chamber of Commerce in Port Orford, then a city council, school board, county commissioner, and then to the state house and now state senate. And I believe that experience all the way through with the different boards and positions that I've been able to work on, especially the roles that I've had here in the Oregon legislature, has given me the tools to be successful in moving forward in November. After we get through the primary, I believe that we have an opportunity to showcase where Republicans are in Oregon and have solutions to move Oregon forward together.
Your district, Oregon's first, includes Curry County, parts of Coos, Jackson, and Douglas counties, and it does lean heavily Republican. Can that translate statewide?
Well, of course it can. I mean, Ken, we've been in this situation in Oregon for a long time. We've seen where Oregon is, and it's completely falling across the spectrum when it comes to education, when it comes to business friendliness. And I believe that the Republicans have a better message with regards to Oregon recovery and cutting through the blue tape that is stifling economic development across the state, and making sure that we have public safety services that protect our residents, in wanting to make sure that we have accountability when it comes to treatment for our addicted individuals in the state, get them into transitional housing, and get them into jobs that are necessary for them to become active and productive members of our society, as well as making sure that we harness and go after those resources in our rural communities that that help build them and are meant to sustain them.
According to your website and by what you've just said, one of your major issues is affordability. How do you plan to address that if you're elected to Congress?
Well, H.R. 1 was one of the biggest tax breaks across the country. And we're in a situation where the Oregon legislature and the Democrat supermajority just this last session decoupled from H.R. 1, especially when it comes to the hyper depreciation. And as I've been traveling around the state and was in Eastern Oregon just last week, those farmers and ranchers over there were expecting and hoping to have that so that they can invest in their businesses. There's in Oregon, over 98% of the businesses in the state are small businesses that employ just over 800,000 people. Those are the businesses that we need to be assisting, and we need to stop these situations of these tax hikes, which is effectively a $311 million tax hike with the disconnect bill in 1507.
Americans are turning against the war in Iran, especially its effect on gas and fertilizer prices, which affects your district. What's your opinion of the war and its effects?
Well, I'm not in the room with regards to the current U.S. senators and the decisions that were made to go into Iran. But I can only imagine from the reports that I've seen that the Iranian regime was right there in getting a nuclear weapon. We didn't think that they had the ballistic capabilities that they did, but we saw them fire a missile much farther than we ever thought that they could. I think that America and its allies are at a turning point with really bringing longstanding generational peace to the region in the Middle East, and frankly, with over 30,000 Iranians that were just rising up to protest the regime that were slaughtered at the beginning of the year. I am just hopeful that we are right there at the cusp of bringing a peaceful end so that we can allow the Persians to flourish once again.
In 2020, you signed onto a letter challenging the results of the presidential election in 4 battleground states. Ultimately, the Supreme Court rejected the Texas lawsuit regarding that. Do you still believe that President Trump won the 2020 election?
Well, I signed on the letter based on the fact that we were looking at the Texas lawsuit, and I am satisfied with the opinion that came out of that decision.
The administration right now challenging vote by mail, which Oregon has used for nearly 30 years now. Last year, you did introduce a bill asking voters to consider repealing vote by mail. Now there's a petition to that effect. What's your issue with vote by mail, especially considering that Oregon has used it successfully all this time?
So I did move a piece of legislation back in the 2025 election that would only refer vote by mail back to the people, because when Oregonians passed vote by mail decades ago, the Oregon legislature has changed vote by mail since then. We've added motor voter, so you're automatically registered to vote when you get your driver's license. We've seen discrepancies with that system. You're automatically registered to vote when you sign up for Oregon Health Authority, OHP. And so and the piece of legislation was meant to put it back to the voters to reaffirm or deny whether or not now, under the current circumstances, they want to continue with vote by mail.
One more thing, we only have a couple of minutes left, but House Democrats in D.C. are holding up full DHS funding right now, arguing for changes in immigration enforcement. What's your view on that, and how has immigration and especially enforcement of immigration policies affected your district?
Well, in my district, in the Senate, it hasn't affected it too much. But having watched what has happened and occurred across the state, I do understand the situation that I've talked to some of my colleagues in the Oregon Senate up in the Hillsborough and areas around there. I truly believe that we have to do what we can to make sure that we do not have criminal, illegal aliens in our state that are breaking our laws, that are hurting individuals, that are selling drugs, that are part of cartel systems, that are poisoning our youth with fentanyl and other harmful drugs in our state. And I think that we need law enforcement coordinating with these individuals state law enforcement and local law enforcement coordinating with our federal law enforcement agencies to make sure that we can get our harmful illegal aliens out of Oregon that are, again, breaking our laws, poisoning our youth, and part of cartel systems that are a huge human trafficking ring that is harmful for everyone in the state.
Those aren't the only people who are being apprehended and deported, though.
No, you're not wrong. And you have a situation where in my district, there isn't those reports, but we did just down the street here in Salem had a cartel gang member who was a heinous criminal that was arrested, I believe, just last week, if I remember right.
Oregon Senator David Brock Smith, we could talk longer, but we're out of time. Thanks for joining Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.